Hey awesome friends, I have a surprise for you where I had asked a few questions to Jeff Kinney and he himself has responded back to me, and if you want to find out more about this, then stay tuned until the end of this video. And apart from that, I have finally finished this book and I love it so much, and I'm really excited to share some hilarious, funny snippets about this book to you guys. So just stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to NPStation. So like I said, I wanted to share some hilarious snippets with you guys that happened in this book. So one of the chapters I wanted to share with you guys is called The Time Greg Played a Hilarious Prank on Me. And you guys probably know, when Greg plans a prank, it does get pretty crazy. So that's what happens in this chapter. So Greg was at Rowley's house and they were playing video games together, and then Greg just brings up this topic saying, so he heard on the news that this one burglar was going around breaking into a bunch of people's houses. And then later on, Greg says that he has to go home for dinner. And then Rowley gets a little bit freaked out when Greg leaves because, you know, Rowley, his parents aren't home either, so he thinks that the burglar's gonna break into his house. But this is where the prank comes in. So Greg actually does not leave Rowley's house. He instead slams the door shut but stays inside Rowley's house. And then Greg takes off his shoes, and then he tiptoes up the stairs without Greg noticing that he's still in the house. Then he goes to the point where he knows Rowley's right under him playing the video games, and Greg starts to stomp so loudly, and Rowley gets so freaked out, where this is the funny part. He jumps up, drops his remote controller, and runs to the garage, and it's pitch black in there. But Rowley hides himself, and he doesn't budge a bit. And this is so funny. And then Greg finds out that Rowley ran into the garage. So Greg follows him and he opens the garage door a little bit. And then, oh my God, Rowley's right next to the door and he's freaking out. And this gets a little bit crazy. Rowley sees that his dad's tennis racket is laying right next to him. So this is what he does. Rowley takes up the tennis racket and whack! He whacks Greg in the face so hard. And I just love that illustration so much because I could totally tell that Rowley did hit Greg pretty hard on that one. And then Rowley doesn't even know that he hit Greg in the face, so he runs out of the garage and then he goes to his neighbor's house and tells her to call the cops because he thinks, you know, the burglar broke into his house. And then when Rowley turns his back, he finds out that Greg walks out of his house, and then Greg's like so dizzy and he's like, what just happened? And then I can tell that Greg did not like what Rowley did to him. And Greg got so mad that, yeah, some other consequences happened after that. And then if you guys get a chance to read this book, just a tip, if you're sitting in a chair, make sure you're holding on to something because these chapters are so funny that I don't want you guys to be laughing so hard that you fall out of your chair. Because trust me, it's happened before. So I have another chapter that I really want to share with you guys, and it's called The Time Greg Totally Had My Back. And this chapter first starts off where it says that Rowley, his science teacher, Mrs. Modi, last year, she had a baby, so she basically left school to just take care of her daughter or son. And then for full time, they got a substitute and his name was Mr. Hardy. And basically, he did nothing. All he would do was in the morning, he would write the assignment on the board and what they would have to do for the assignment. And then he would sit down on his desk, take out his newspaper with his glasses on, and start to read. And he didn't even look up one bit. So after like the third day, the class got so bored that they started to goof around so much. They started to like throw paper balls at each other, throw airplanes. They started to text in class and all that stuff, chewing gum. And then they started to get a little bit more crazy, where they were dropping their textbooks on the floor to kill a bug. And it was really crazy. And like next, it got even more worse, where the students were hitting other students with chairs. Exactly. And they were knocking other students down. They were punching other boys in the face. Come on, that's crazy. And guess what Mr. Hardy did? Nothing. He didn't even give a single glance at what the class was doing. And then, but Rowley, he's a very good student. He was the only one who was actually doing his assignments while all the other class was goofing around. And he was doing his tests, he was turning them in, while the other students, they didn't even budge. But then, when it was the day where Mr. Hardy had given grades, which, by the way, all the students knew Mr. Hardy didn't grade a single paper, not even the papers that Rowley turned in. So then, he said, I'm going to whisper the grades in all of your ears. And then, turns out that Mr. Hardy is not such a good whisperer. He goes over, okay, first student, C. And basically, the full class could hear that. Okay, next student, C. And he continues that for every single student. And when it comes to Greg, guess what he gets? A C. Obvious. Then after Greg, it's Rowley. So guys, what do you guys think? He's probably going to get an A or a B at least because he turned in his papers. Guess what? C. Yep, he got a C too. And then once Mr. Hardy was done with all the students, when he was coming back to his desk, Greg jumps out of his chair and stands right in front of Mr. Hardy, and says, there is no way that Rowley Jefferson got a C because he's the only one who turned in his test and his papers, so maybe you should go to the principal's office. And then, Rowley was so surprised because that was like the only chapter or time where Greg has ever stood up to Rowley in any of the books. So that just surprised Rowley so much, and definitely me. So apart from what I said, there are so many other chapters that are very, very funny, and every page you turn, you will always have a little giggle. And also, the illustrations, when you read this book for yourself, the illustrations feel like you're watching the movie and reading the book at the same time. That's how good the illustrations are. And are you guys ready for the surprise? Well, here it is! Why did you decide to write a diary of an awesome, friendly kid now?
The thing I've really learned from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books and movies is that the audience or the readers are always rooting for Rowley Jefferson. I think that's because he's a really pure kid. He can't really be corrupted by Greg Heffley. So I thought it would be really fun to embrace that and write from Rowley's perspective, which I did.
What's special about Rowley's view of the world?
Rowley's view of the world is very innocent. That's what I really like about Rowley. He's a kid who likes being a kid, and he sees the world through really innocent eyes. And I think that's where a lot of the humor comes from in Diary of an Awesome Friendly Kid, is that Rowley's view of the world is very simplistic and primitive.